What is up, ladies and gents? It's your boy Jermaine, Main on MMA. And last night, ladies and gents, there were quite a few announcements made last night. I was like in bed, just about to pass out, and I'm like, holy, whoa. I texted the homies over at Calf Kick Sports. I mean, they're all, I'd say half of them are over in the UK. So they were like, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm texting them like, dude, are you seeing this? Are you seeing Ilia? Are you seeing this? You know what I'm saying? It was going down last night. So let's watch this video from ITP MMA about the Ilia Topuria situation. Ilia Topuria vacates featherweight title. Absolute insanity. Let's check this out from ITP MMA, and then let's talk about the situation. I will, if he doesn't touch on the other fights that were announced, then we can talk about that in another video. All right, let's go.
55 pounds, and we'll be vacating the featherweight title.
All right, so Dana White just went live last night on Instagram to do one of his famous fight announcements from the comfort of his office via vertical video, but to this guy's credit, he actually dropped bombshell after bombshell. And without a doubt, the biggest announcement that he gave to us is that Ilia Topuria has officially vacated his featherweight title and is moving up to lightweight.
Alex Volkanovski will be taking on number 3 ranked Diego Lopez for the vacant UFC featherweight title. Topuria has felt like he's done all that he can in that division, and he feels like he's cemented his legacy, and his body cannot make the weight anymore. So Topuria will be moving up to 155 pounds and will be vacating the featherweight title. So the way that this works is
craziness.
As soon as the first punch is thrown in this fight, the title is vacated. And we will announce what Topuria's next fight will be when we get it done. So Volkanovski versus Lopez, headlining a badass stack card.
This is an insane move out of Topuria that I absolutely did not think was going to happen.
I love it. I'm going to pause real quick, because when I was talking to my boy Ash from Calf Kick Sports last night, and we were surmising, well, what's Ilia's possible next move? And we were both like, well, probably Dustin, right? Probably logically he'd fight Dustin Poirier next. But honestly, when I think about it again, I see there's no reason he doesn't fight Islam next. There's absolutely no reason he doesn't fight Islam next. Islam's already beat Charles. All right. Topuria is moving up, vacating the belt. I see that there's no reason that he doesn't skip Charles and we get a fresh matchup. I think that could definitely be the possibility here.
Happen as soon as it did. And of course, we've all heard him say that he wants to fight Islam Makhachev for the lightweight belt, but speaking for myself here, I didn't think that that would involve relinquishing his belt entirely to make a permanent move to 155. This is a crazy turn of events, and it really does flip the UFC featherweight division upside down in a massive way. After his win over Max Holloway, I seriously felt like we were going to see Ilia successfully defend his featherweight title for a long time. And as you heard from Dana, Alexander Volkanovski is going to be fighting Diego Lopez for the vacant title at UFC 314, and that is for sure going to be a great fight where I can actually really see Volk winning. To tell you the truth, now that Ilia is no longer running the show at 145, I feel like it's much more of an even playing field amongst the current lineup in that division. As much as I like Diego Lopez, I can't help but root for Volk to win, but regardless of who comes out on top, there's going to be tough fights around every corner. And I don't know if there's a guy at featherweight who I can see dominating the...
I really like both fighters, you know, naturally. I think if you're a fight fan, UFC fan, you gotta like Volkanovski. And if you're a diehard, you should like Diego Lopez. Like, ever since when he was about to fight Mobsar, and I went and looked up his video, like footage of his previous fights, I was like, dude, Lopez is good. And then he looked even better than I thought he looked in the footage leading up to the UFC. And he's looked incredible ever since. I don't want either one to lose, but it's gonna be a banger, hopefully.
Division now that Ilia's vacated the belt. Which leads me to the big question that I'm sure everyone's asking: who is going to be Ilia's first fight at lightweight? The obvious answer, of course, is getting an immediate title shot against Islam, which would automatically be the biggest fight of the year, assuming John Jones versus Tom Aspinall doesn't happen in 2025. But I will raise you a scenario. What if the UFC is planning on doing Jones versus Aspinall as well as Makhachev versus
You know, just to stop, I was watching the Instagram live from Dana White, more of that video that started this video, and someone in the comments was like, so does this mean that John versus Tom Aspinall is never happening. And Dana White said that fight is happening, right? As late as last night, Dana White says that fight is happening. So it feels pretty good about that possibility.
Topuria for International Fight Week. But let's assume that for whatever reason, Dana and Hunter Campbell want to make Ilia fight a lightweight contender before giving him a crack at Islam. I wouldn't really agree with them doing that, but let's just entertain the idea of it really quickly. Seeing as the lightweight division has guys like Arman Tsarukyan, Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, Dan Hooker, Michael Chandler, Renato Moicano, and Paddy Pimblett, Ilia does not have a shortage of exciting matchups. In my opinion, I feel like you just give him Islam Makhachev for the International Fight Week pay-per-view card, but if the UFC is insistent on making him get a win before giving him a title shot, then I say pair him up with Charles Oliveira. With all this being said though, how well do I think Topuria is going to do as a full-time lightweight? I think he's going to do really well, but I'm pretty doubtful that he can take out Makhachev. Like, I have no doubt in my mind that Ilia can be a solid top 5 contender at lightweight, but I don't know, man. For as good as the featherweight division is, I feel like lightweight is a bit higher in terms of its level of competition. For example, if the UFC matched him up against Tsarukyan, Oliveira, or Gaethje, then I feel like Topuria has a pretty good chance at beating Charles and Justin, but honestly, I'm not sure if I would pick him to beat Arman. It's hard to say because we have so little data of Ilia fighting at lightweight besides his fight against Jai Herbert, but we have so much data of him destroying featherweights. Don't get me wrong, I really want to see Topuria succeed in this new weight class because I've been a big believer in him since he entered the UFC, but I guess what I'm trying to say here is that I'm going to be cautiously optimistic that he can be a top dog at 155. But even if he does blow Arman, Charles, or Justin out of the water, call me crazy, but I just don't think that he's going to be able to beat Islam. Okay, I think that's all my thoughts on Ilia moving up in weight, but Dana actually had a lot more announcements other than that, so let's talk about those really quickly.
Let's go.
There is a 5-round co-main event between number 7 ranked Michael Chandler and number 12 ranked Paddy Pimblett.
Let's go,
now, this
Paddy.
is a really solid fight, and it's for sure going to be fun. But do I really think that Chandler versus Pimblett is an ideal co-main event for a big pay-per-view card like UFC 314? Yes and no, but that doesn't really matter. I feel like Dana's finally given up on the Michael Chandler science experiment that he's been doing, and I do get the feeling that he's hoping that Paddy gets the win here so that he can prop him up even more as a rising star. And fortunately for Dana, I can see Pimblett walking away with the win in this fight. I don't think it's going to be an easy fight for Paddy because Michael hasn't been an easy fight for anybody in the UFC thus far, but I can definitely see him winning by submission. I'm still pretty doubtful about Paddy overall, both as a fighter and as a pay-per-view draw, but to his credit, he has improved a lot since the Jared Gordon fight. He is going to be significantly bigger than Chandler, and as we all know, Chandler has some of the lowest fight IQ in the UFC, so I am leaning Paddy in this one.
And he just
Pimblett
cheats.
better look out though. If he's not careful, Chandler might knock him out via punches to the back of the head.
Number 4 ranked Yair Rodriguez, and my boys are telling me there's been some talk out on the internet about this one. Patricio Pitbull at featherweight.
Okay, solid fight. I always like to see Yair step into the ring. If you've been following PFL news lately, which I totally understand
this is
why
a
you
bad
wouldn't be,
fight
then
for
you'll know that
Yair.
Patricio Pitbull's been literally begging to be released from the PFL for months now. I think it's a great signing. At one point, Pitbull was seen by many fans as the best fighter not in the UFC, but I don't think that that's the case in 2025. I mean, if the UFC was able to sign him back in like 2016, that would have been ideal, but now that he's turning 38 in July, I'm really doubtful if he's going to be a serious contender in the UFC. Nonetheless, he does make featherweight a lot more fun, and I do think that fighting Yair is a perfect debut fight for him. I do think that Rodriguez wins by decision, but I'm kind of hoping that Pitbull proves me wrong.
London's main event on March 22nd, live from the O2 Arena. The original fight was supposed to be Leon Edwards versus Jack Della Maddalena. Now it's going to be number 1 ranked Leon Edwards versus number 5 ranked Sean Brady. Number 1 ranked former champ Leon Edwards will be taking on Sean Brady, who has an impressive 17-1 record. His only loss is to the champ Bilal Muhammad. And I'll fill you in.
I think Sean Brady's going to dominate
here in a minute.
Leon.
Not gonna lie, I think that this is pretty disappointing. Edwards versus Brady is still a good fight, I guess, but I was definitely more excited to see Edwards fight JDM. Because at least with JDM as an opponent, we were going to see some really technical striking from both sides, and I also think that JDM had the striking style to be able to pressure Leon and force him to throw more volume instead of his regular playbook of hanging back and countering. And now that Brady's been slotted in to replace JDM, I feel like we know exactly how this fight is going to look. It's either going to be Leon defending the takedowns and fighting Brady at range, or it's going to be Brady grinding out a decision win with his wrestling. But I think that I'm going to pick Brady, assuming he doesn't let Edwards get comfortable in the octagon. I don't know though, this one's hard.
UFC 315 on May 10th, live from the Bell Center in Montreal, Canada. The main event will be Bilal Muhammad, his first title defense against, what was I just talking about? Number 4 ranked Jack Della Maddalena.
JDM, let's go.
We tried multiple times to put together the Bilal Shavkat Rakhmonov fight, but Rakhmonov is injured. So as soon as Rakhmonov's healthy again, we'll get him back in there, and obviously he'll probably be first in line to fight whoever wins that the Jack Della versus Bilal fight.
Yeah, definitely a fortunate turn of events for JDM, but the thing is, I just don't see him winning this fight, man. That's not to say I don't want him to win, because that's not true at all. I would much rather see JDM as champion over Bilal, but I just think that he's going to get out-wrestled, plain and simple. Obviously, JDM has the striking advantage, but Bilal and his team are too smart and too good at game planning, and Bilal is so risk-averse where I'm positive that he's going to keep the fight standing as little as possible. I'll be stoked if JDM can pull off the upset win, but I fully expect Bilal to grind out yet another decision win for his first title defense.
Now, the co-main event on this card, the number 1 ranked pound-for-pound fighter in the world, Valentina Shevchenko, will face number 5 ranked Manon Fiorot for the flyweight title.
Look, I like Valentina, and I spent a lot of years rooting for her in her fights, but it's gotten to the point where it's so boring to have her as champion. It doesn't help that her most recent win over Grasso was painfully boring, so it's just hard for me to get excited to see her defending the belt again. I don't know, man. I'm gonna pick Fiorot to win this one, but even if she does win, they're just going to give Valentina...
So yeah, he picks Fiorot. This ain't gonna be like a cut and dry like fight for her. I don't feel like it. I feel like Fiorot could actually give her some problems in the striking. I don't know, and she's big. Fiorot's big, but we'll see.
An immediate rematch, so what does it even matter?
Also on the card, we have number 8 ranked Gilbert Burns versus 17-0 undefeated Michael Morales.
This is a good fight. The UFC clearly wants to set up Michael Morales as a rising contender with a win against the old and slow Gilbert Burns, and I think they're going to get exactly what they were hoping for. Michael's too big and too fast for Gilbert in his current form, and I can see him winning by TKO.
And we announced yesterday Alexa Grasso is taking on Natalia Silva.
I didn't even want to include this one because of how little I care about this fight, but I know that you guys are going to comment on it if I didn't, so here it is. Alexa's good, Natalia's good, they're both good fighters. I just have such little interest in this fight. Alexa by decision. Anyways, that is the video for today. Definitely let me know what you think about Ilia vacating the featherweight belt.
All right, ladies and gents, shout out to ITP MMA Live for the dope video about this whole Ilia Topuria. Well, even just a lot of the announcements from last night. We got some fight cards that were brought up last night. Let's check something out here. I don't know where I'm gonna find it. I don't know where I'm gonna find it. I confidently thought I could just find the fight card. They announced some fight cards. Here we go. 314. Lopez, Volk. Yeah, look at that card there. They got Jeff Neal, Carlos Prates. That fight there is crazy. We can find out a lot about where Prates is. Nikita Krylov, Dominic Reyes. I feel like a lot of money is going to come in on Reyes because Krylov is just not a really outspoken guy. I feel like if you're not a hardcore, you don't even know he fights for the UFC. But as someone who is who considers themselves a hardcore, I feel like Nikita Krylov is going to finish Reyes in probably the first round. I think that's the smart bet there. My girl Varna Jandiroba, or however you say her name, dude. Like, I've heard it throughout the years pronounced so differently. I've lost all confidence in saying that correctly. But this is the Miami card? Yeah, this is the Miami card, I believe. Yeah, Alexander 314. Alexander versus Lopez, UFC 314 from Miami, Florida. Yep. The Kaseya Center in Miami. They announced quite a few things yesterday, and I was like, it is going down. All right. Chandler versus Patty, 5 rounds. I'm excited to see Patty beat Michael Chandler. I just don't like Michael Chandler. I'm excited to see anybody beat Michael Chandler. So let's get that fight going. All right, let's get that fight going. But that card is stacked. All right, it's stacked. It's not stacked enough to make me want to take my black ass to Miami. I've never had any interest in that, but yeah, this is a stacked card. I'm more interested in the Montreal card, Bilal and Valentina in Montreal. That's the more exciting card, in my opinion, ladies and gents. But let me know what you guys think in the comments about Ilia vacating the belt. Actually, before I get out of here, let me talk about that a little bit. Because, you know, there was a lot. I didn't know if he was going to mention it, but then he mentioned all the other fights. And now we're getting a little sidetracked. So Ilia Topuria vacates his belt. He moves up officially to 155 pounds. As soon as the bell rings and the first punch is thrown in the main event of UFC 314, Ilia Topuria is no longer featherweight champion. I see no reason, as I said to start, why Ilia can't fight Islam next. I think that is a much more exciting matchup than the rematch between Charles and Islam. There's honestly nothing. Somebody show me right now what we've seen that says that Charles would do a lot better, and not even do better. You have to show me what you've seen from Charles that tells me Charles is gonna win, not do better. Are you guys sure he's gonna win? If you're not sure, if you just like to see the fight again, I'm a Charles like Oliveira guy. All right. I wish he did a lot better in that fight, but he didn't. He didn't. And I wouldn't mind seeing Ilia versus Islam next. I think that's the fight to make right now. Let's strike while the iron's hot. What if Ilia did it? I know you guys are like, hey, he's too small. We don't need to see that. But what if he fucking pulled it off, ladies and gents? That's why I love this sport. It makes me feel so warm all over. If Ilia was to go in there and, I don't know, knock out Islam Makhachev, submit Islam Makhachev, just beat Islam Makhachev, and not by like lucky punch, you know. I say a check right hook isn't a lucky punch. You trained it, you caught him, but it'd be cool if Ilia went in there and just dominated Makhachev. Had him looking like Umar was looking when he fought, even I would say Usman and Umar Nurmagomedov in their previous fights, when Umar fought Merab and when Usman fought Paul Hughes. They both had a moment of, well, they had moments of, holy shit, I've never been in here with someone like this before. This is a real animal. All right. I want to see that moment. I want to see that look on Islam Makhachev's face. I want to see that look if it's possible. It's kind of doubtful, but I'd love to see him try. But let me know what you guys think in the comments about the avalanche of news that came from the UFC last night. What do you think about Ilia versus Islam? Or who would you like to see Ilia fight next? Is it Dustin Poirier? Who is it, ladies and gents? I mean, at this point, it could have been Patty, honestly. I would have been cool with it being Patty. Could have been Patty. But let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments. Head on over to ITP MMA Live. Give them a like. Give them a subscribe. Thank you guys for being here once again. And I will see you when I see you. I'll holla.